Greetings, fellow dungeon delvers, and welcome to Dorans and Dragons, where we work together to come up with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition builds for your favorite League of Legends champions. Today we're building Anivia, the Cryophoenix. Anivia is one of the demigods of the Freljord, like her brothers Ornn and Volibear. Legends say that the Freljord was created when Anivia burst from her icy egg and beat her wings for the first time. She commands all aspects of winter, from creating gales of freezing wind to hurling boulders of ice. She's held an affinity for those who demonstrate kindness in the harsh environment of the Freljord, but her greatest gift to the land was the creation of True Ice. True Ice gave mortals the ability to wield Anivia's power and use it to protect their people and lands. Anivia has been slain many times over the centuries, but has always been reborn, always at a time when she's needed most. She's awoken recently, some say to herald Ash throughout the Freljord, but others worry that some great threat is coming that Anivia could not ignore. Before we get started with the build, go ahead and like the video and hit that subscribe button so you're always notified when we release our builds. We'd like to take a minute and thank one of this month's Doran's Blade patrons, Fion. Thank you so much for your support, it means a lot to us. Fion chose Anivia to build as part of the rewards for our Blade Tier Plus patrons. Come join us over on Patreon today for just $1 to get access to our awesome Discord community where we talk League and D&D all day long. Alright, now let's get into it. Here's a quick preview of the build. For race, we're going with Aarakocra. Per usual, our stats are going to be determined using the standard array. For our stat priorities, we're going to max intelligence and dump strength. We do have a multi-class requirement of 13 in intelligence and charisma. Our leveling path is going to be levels 1 through 12 in Wizard, and then we'll finish out the build with 8 levels in Warlock. Anivia's passive, Rebirth, is going to be Death Ward, Tomb of Levistus, and Defy Death. Our Q, Flash Frost, is going to come from Rhyme's Binding Ice. Her W, Crystallize, comes from Wall of Ice. Our E, Frostbite, will come from Elemental Bane and Ice Knife. And finally we get our ultimate, Glacial Storm, from Cloudkill, with the damage changed to cold via Awakened Spellbook. For race, we're going with... Sorry, something stuck in my throat there. For race, we're going with Aarakocra. Now, Aarakocra normally get a +2 to Dexterity and a +1 to Wisdom, but thanks to Tasha's Origin ability options, we're going to throw that out the window and instead pick up a +2 to our Constitution and a +1 to our Intelligence. We'll also get some Talons. That won't do much for us since we're dumping Strength, but hey, they do 1d4 slashing if you do manage to hit with them. The most important thing we get from this race besides being Burb is Flight. As long as we're not wearing medium or heavy armor, we have a 50 feet flying speed per turn. For background, we're going with a custom background that mimics Acolyte, since Anivia is basically a deity herself, and whenever you go around, people who worship you are gonna help you. You'll pick up proficiency in Insight and Religion, as well as the Shelter of the Faithful feature, which, just like I was saying before, means that whenever you go around other institutions and people who devote themselves to you, they'll offer whatever assistance they can. For stats, we're going for the balance that Anivia brings to the Volibear with a standard array. Roll if you want to, just keep at least a 13 in intelligence and charisma for multi-classing purposes. Intelligence is going to be our top stat at a 15, thanks to her creation of True Ice as a gift to the fledgling Freljord. We'll take Constitution second because of her divine health and to help us maintain concentration on our spells. After that, we'll grab our Charisma for multi-classing, then Wisdom, which we definitely put on top for lore reasons if we didn't need the other stats more. We'll have an average Dexterity and dump Strength. Since we don't need any special equipment for this build, let's kick things off with some levels in Wizard. Wizards have a yucky d6 hit die and give us proficiency with a few weapons, but no armor. We'll pick up 2 wizard skill proficiencies though. We'll grab Arcane for our magical knowledge, and History since you were there when it occurred. First level wizards also get the Arcane Recovery feature, letting you recharge half your wizard level in spell slots once per day during a short rest. Normally we don't go too deep into wizard, so this feature's kind of underwhelming, but we're going 12 deep this time, so you'll be able to get back 6 levels worth of spell slots. Definitely helpful in a pinch. We're also going to learn first level spells. Ice Knife is going to be the damage portion of our E, letting us hurl an icicle at a creature, dealing 1d10 piercing damage, which then explodes, forcing a dex save on all the creatures within 5 feet, dealing 2d6 cold damage to anyone who fails. Second level wizards choose their Arcane Tradition, which is the focus of their arcane studies moving forward. We're going to reach into Tasha's Cauldron of Everything and choose the Order of Scribes. This is going to give us 2 features for now. Wizardly Quill is going to let us create a tiny quill in our hand. It doesn't need ink, since it makes its own. It reduces the time cost to transcribe spells to our spellbook down to 2 minutes per spell level, and it turns the feather of your quill into an eraser as well, in case you ever need to hide your writings from prying eyes. Awaken Spellbook is the real feature we're here for though. This is going to let us use our spellbook as a focus for our spells, and let us replace the damage type of a spell with a damage type from another spell in our book. We're going to use this later to get our ultimate. Also, it'll let you cast a ritual spell using its normal cast time once per long rest. Level 3 wizards learn 2nd level spells. We're going to grab our Q, or rather our Q is going to grab our enemies, with Rhymes Binding Ice. This is going to be a 30-foot cold of cone energy. You know what, that was such a bad mistake that I'm just leaving it in there. I'm just rolling with it, okay? But we'll try again. This is going to be a 30-foot cone of cold energy that forces a Constitution save on all creatures in the cone. On a failed save, they take 3d8 cold damage, and they're stuck in the ice for 1 minute unless they or an ally uses their action to break them free. It's not exactly a stun, but we do what we can with what we got. 4th level wizards get the first ability score improvement of the build. As always, we're going to break down all of them here so you can pick and choose along the way. At Wizard 4, we're going with Elemental Adept Cold, which is going to let our spells ignore resistance to cold damage, and take any of our 1s on our cold damage die and turn them to 2s instead. At Wizard 8, we'll get some help maintaining our concentration spells with Warcaster. Since we have a ton of them, this is going to come through in spades. Warcaster gives us advantage on our concentration saves, and lets us use our opportunity attacks to cast spells rather than swiping with our talons. At Wizard 12, we're done with feats, so we'll just aim towards maxing our abilities. We'll start with a +2 to our intelligence here to enhance our spell work. At Warlock 4, we'll max our intelligence with 2 more points. And at Warlock 8, we'll bump our constitution 2 points for that health pool increase and con save assistance. 6th level scribe wizards gain Manifest Mind, allowing them to bring forth the mind of their awakened spellbook. It's a tiny spectral object that can scout things for you and cast spells as if you were standing there casting them. This isn't very Anivia focused, but it can definitely help out in your travels. Level 7 wizards learn 4th level spells. We're going to get the damage amplification of our E with Elemental Bane. Elemental Bane lets you choose a damage type. Obviously we're going with cold damage. Then choose a creature and force a constitution save on it. If it fails, the first time on each turn they take cold damage, they'll take an extra 2d6 damage on top of that. Also, it removes their resistance to that damage type, but we've got that covered with Elemental Adept. Real quick, we'll also talk about Ice Storm, which you can also learn at this level, and I'm sure a lot of you were expecting this for her ultimate. Ice Storm creates a 20-foot radius, 40-foot high cylinder of icy pain, dealing 2d8 bludgeoning and 46 cold damage to each character in the area. Since we're going to cover her ultimate next level, I'll explain my thoughts on this spell then as well. Level 9 wizards learn 5th level spells. We're going to use our Awakened Spellbook to turn the Cloud Kill spell from poison damage to cold damage for our ultimate. You're going to create a 20-foot radius sphere of icy winter that lasts for up to 10 minutes. When a creature enters the space or starts their turn there, they have to succeed on a con save or take 5d8 cold damage. Now this does move away from you at the start of each of your turns, but this is going to give you persistent AoE zoning cold damage that your ultimate provides. Now if you want to add Ice Storm on top of this to creatures still inside your ult, and flavor it as the ult reaching its full strength, I'm totally on board with this. But the reason we didn't just do Ice Storm and call it a day is because to me, the consistent zoning and damage from Anivia's ult just doesn't come through in that spell alone. 10th level Scribes Wizards gain the Master Scrivener feature, letting you create magic scrolls out the wazoo. It cuts the cost of both time and gold in half for creating scrolls, and you can create special spell scrolls for 1st and 2nd level spells that bump their casting level by 1 when you use them this way. Level 11 Wizards learn 6th level spells. We're going to get our Icy Body with Investiture of Ice and our W with Wall of Ice. Investiture of Ice is going to form an icy layer of rime all over our body, giving us immunity to cold damage and resistance to fire damage. Ice or snow won't hinder your movement, and the area 10 feet around you is icy and difficult terrain for anyone but you. As an action, you can fire off a 15-foot cone of icy wind, forcing a con save on each creature in the area, dealing 4d6 cold damage on a failed save, and reducing their speed by half until the start of your next turn. Wall of Ice is going to let you create an icy barrier in the shape of 10-foot square panels. Your wall can have up to 10 of them, as long as they're contiguous, and they last for up to 10 minutes. And in my opinion, that's too many usages of the number 10 in one spell. I had to specifically space them out, so I didn't trip all over myself like I did earlier. If your wall goes through a creature's space, that creature has to make a dex save, or take 10d6 cold damage. Oh my god, there's another 10. The wall has an AC of 12 and 30 hit points per section, which means it should take a swing or two. If you do break the wall, the air between the two sections is frigid, causing you to take 5d6 cold damage if you pass through it and fail a con save. Alrighty, now that we have all of our active abilities, it's time to head down some levels in Warlock to get the Phoenix and Cryophoenix. I'm not gonna lie, if you wanted to skip these levels and just keep going as a wizard, or maybe throw in Sorcerer here, I wouldn't blame you one bit. We're not here for much. All that being said, Warlocks have a d8 hit die and give us light armor and simple weapon proficiencies. More importantly though, we'll get ourselves as an otherworldly patron of the Undying. This is going to give us an important expanded spell list and the Among the Dead feature. You get the Spare the Dying cantrip, and advantage on saves against disease. Also, the Shadow Owl's folk are going to have trouble hurting you. The first time they try to attack you, they'll have to make a wisdom save or be forced to target a different creature instead. You'll also get packed magic slots here, but we have no Warlock spells or cantrips to talk about, so we'll move on. Second level Warlocks gain their Eldritch Invocations, which are passive benefits meant to offset the woes of the packed magic system. We only have one we really need here, though it doesn't technically unlock until level 5. Tomb of Levistus is going to give us Anivia by letting us spend our reaction to entomb ourselves in ice, which will melt by the end of our next turn at the latest. We'll gain 10 temporary hit points per level, which represents the integrity of the ice. While the ice is up, we're incapacitated, have 0 speed, and are vulnerable to fire damage. This is probably the most accurate version of Anivia's egg, especially when combined with the spell we'll get at level 7. Skipping up to Warlock 6, Undying Locks gain Defy Death, which isn't very Anivia focused, but it'll definitely come in handy. Whenever you succeed on a death save or stabilize a creature with Spare the Dying, you heal yourself 1d8 plus your con mod in hit points. Level 7 Warlocks learn 4th level spells. Thanks to our Undying patron, we can learn the Death Ward spell, which lasts 8 hours and should probably be part of our wake-up routine. You touch yourself, phrasing, and give yourself the ability to shrug off a fatal blow. The time you're dropped to 0 hit points, instead you drop to 1 and the spell ends. So ideally what happens is you get wrecked and your Death Ward triggers, which you use as a reaction to encase yourself within the Tomb of Levistus to stall, and buy your allies time to protect and heal you, just like in-game. Alright, now that we've completed the build, let's see how we did. First, the good. I am very biased because other than lightning, ice is my favorite elemental type, and we have ice damage for days, especially thanks to our Awakened spellbook. Your DM is going to need to bring a warm blanket and a mug of hot cocoa for their creatures and NPCs. Although our ability to cheat death might make their blood boil enough to keep them warm in the winter you're bringing. Now the bad. Holy moly, so many concentration spells. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to keep up your ultimate and W at the same time, but you can use them on back-to-back turns at least. Also, I really wanted to thread some sorcerer levels in here, since Anivia is literally a demigod, and being able to manipulate our ice magic a little bit would have been nice. So, what'd you think? I've included a link to this build via D&D Beyond in the description below, as well as Amazon links to the books used in the build. If you enjoy this type of content, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We have a few awesome rewards, and you get access to our great Discord community. We plan on churning out one League Champion build every week. Thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you on the Rift, or in the Forgotten Realms.